guys, it's nice to have you here. Today's video is going to be something kind of different. First off, the way this idea came about, I had a couple of different palettes from Tarte that I wanted to talk about in a video, use in a video, just bring up somehow. And I thought, well, if I do a tutorial with them, they don't really cover my whole face. And then the idea came in, why don't I do a whole face using only products that are in palettes? And this might actually make a fun challenge if you want to try this yourself. You could certainly put different restrictions on it, make it a little more difficult. You could say all drugstore palettes or put a limit on the palettes. I could certainly do this with less palettes than what I'm going to be using in this video. I mean, like last week I talked about an IT Cosmetics palette that had about 5 zillion things in it. So not really the biggest challenge per se, but something that I just thought would be fun. And I guess the big rule for this that I'm going to be sticking to is every single thing has to come from a palette. The only thing that does not have to come from a palette would be the mascara / lashes. Every single other thing from foundation to eyeliner to your eyebrow products has to come from a palette of some sort. So yay, this will be fun. We'll see how this goes. My first thing for foundation, I do have a foundation palette. It's from e.l.f. and it's in the shade light / medium. I know there was a video quite a while back when this first came out when I talked about it. So I think I'll start by picking up some of this second shade, and I'm just using this angled Kabuki F84 from Sigma. I haven't used this product in a while and I kind of forget, you know, my preferred way of putting it on. Yeah, you know what I'm actually gonna do so I can get more product on my skin a little faster? I'm just picking up that color with my finger and then I'll blend it out, buff it in with my brush. And then I think I'm going to dab around a little bit with the shade that goes even lighter. And I'll kind of put that on, like around my under eye area, center parts of the face. The foundation feels nice going on because it's not too thick. It's kind of a nice little middle ground there where I feel like I am getting some coverage, although I'd call it like a medium coverage. But it is relatively easy to just swipe on and blend out. There's a nice smoothness to it. Okay, there we go. Foundation is on, and again, I use the top two shades. The bottom two shades in this light to medium palette are just a little bit deeper. This one down here has quite a bit of yellow in it. Next thing is a palette for concealer, and I have this palette from Tarte. I think this was limited edition. It's called their Wipeout palette, and I really like this. It's got different like color correcting shades. It also has a contour color, and you've got these two down here. One's kind of like a little bit more of a pink tone peach, and one's a bit more of a yellowy, almost nearly skin tone type color. So I'm going to use this shade right down here, kind of like an under eye corrector. I forget all these palettes have nice big mirrors in them, so every time I pop one out I can just hold it right in front of myself. But whew, the under eye circles are real in this third trimester. I feel like, I mean, for as much as I'm falling asleep on the couch in the evening hours, I would think I shouldn't be having as many under eye circles. But I perhaps am a bit more wakeful at night while I'm kind of, you know, tossing and turning and trying to find a good position. What else? I think I'll use this shade kind of around the nose a little bit. It's a little less peach. And I sort of want to brighten down the nose with this center yellow shade. I find it can be really brightening. It can be good if you've got little areas that want to look a little bit red sometimes. And then this is my Swispers sponge that was mentioned in my recent video about new drugstore products. I was kind of doing some mini reviews on, and I really like these. These I was able to get at Walmart, kind of near where they sell the cotton pads from this brand. It's like they just jumped into this sponge game and said, hey, we're making some really good mini sponges that are a lot like the Beauty Blender Micro Mini. I mean, they're just a really nice softness with these. It's great for pressing in your concealer, feeling like you're applying very little pressure to that, you know, very delicate under eye area, because this will never pull like your finger will or even like a brush will. When you're just dabbing this soft sponge over that area, there's nothing like it. I'm gonna try something crazy here and just add a little yellow to this under eye, because it was kind of nicely brightening elsewhere on the face. Just do a little bit of that right up in there. Okay, that works. I think I've been adequately concealed, and then I'm going to my Je ne sais quoi palette from IT Cosmetics. I've had a frog in my throat all morning long. I'm going to use the Bye Bye Pores pressed powder. It's a nice little like finishing powder. It's been nice to set the under eye using my e.l.f. small tapered brush. And I'm just going to dab this on that area lightly. Not a lot of product on the brush. But that is a very, very creamy concealer from the Tarte palette. It's surprisingly creamy for coming from a palette. You know, sometimes you expect it to just be a little bit drier than that. And then this will be the only like all over face type powder that I use today. And then I want to reach for this Tarteist Pro Glow palette. So this is one of the new palettes from Tarte. It opens like with a couple of little doors here. Oops. What we have is a cream contour and then like this sort of matte powder contour and 4 very shimmery highlights. And while they do have, you know, some different tones, this one down here is a little bit deeper. The one up here is kind of peachy. You know, you got a couple of very light ones over on the right. I'd say my one complaint about this palette is that there wasn't more variety. Just in terms of at least one of those 4 being like a lot less shimmery, having a little bit more spectrum in terms of the finish on the skin. I do like this shade color that they've got down here in the lower left. It really goes on easily, and I found I love applying it with this contour brush from Real Techniques, and I just kind of go straight down into it. And so that allows me to pick up some product, and then you can see it going right there in the cheekbone. And it's very easy to blend out. I find myself just doing a little light, like buffing motion. And before I know it, I've got a great contour there. And the tone just works really nicely for looking like a legit shadow. And this palette does have that kind of like slightly sweet smell that some of the recent Tarte palettes have had. Kind of reminds me of a Too Faced chocolate bar type scent. I'm buffing this around my hairline also. And then you can take this Sculpt shade, and I've used it several times just on its own, and it's a fine, like, kind of subtle contour as is. It's just a nice matte powder, but I find that when I use it over the cream, it just gives like an added look of softness to the contour. So I kind of like going over and setting it with that. And then I can furthermore, you know, spread that deeper shade over larger areas. Like when I go down my neck, it's like maybe I'm not going to bother so much with doing creams there, but I can use the powder. Honestly, what I think could have been useful in this palette for my own personal preferences would have been just this color, and like one of the highlights. And that would have been great for me. These 4 different highlights, while I'm all about trying to pick up on the subtle differences in products, you know, by the time you've got them sheared out on your skin, there's not really like a huge difference between them all, you know, and so I kind of wonder, like, did they all need to be in there? Or if they did want to put that many highlights in, could they have made them quite a bit different from one another? The one that I probably reach for most is this shade called Stunner down here. The strobe shade has little bitty flecks of glitter. It's not as bad as some glittery highlights that I've seen, but it's not my favorite. Fire down here can be a little deep as far as spotlighting just a certain area on my skin. And then I thought the shade Lit up here was just a little bit weak, but sometimes I just end up bouncing around to so many shades and combining them to get exactly what I want. But overall, I feel like this color called Stunner is the most impactful highlight on my skin. So I'm gonna go ahead and take that right on top of my cheekbones. I'll go over that with my blush. And sometimes that effect of blush over highlight can be really pretty. So I am hitting up my Je ne sais quoi palette using this blush right here. It's the Bye Bye Pores blush in Je ne sais quoi, and it's just a matte, really pretty, universal pinky blush. And see, I think that looks really pretty on top of a shimmery highlight. It's like there's still glow coming through, but it's filtered just a little bit. It's interesting. Now next up, I'm doing some brows, and I'm using this little Makeup Forever brow sculpting palette. It's in the shade number 1, and here's what it has in there. 3 different tones of brow powder. You've got a wax and then sort of a cream highlight right there. And I'm pulling in a separate brush. This is my Sigma E75 for brows, just because this brush in here is so stiff. It just feels funny, you know, dipping into a powder with that because I feel like it kind of cuts into the product, but you do have a spoolie on the other end. So I'm going to start with some of this wax. And I like to kind of get that going in my brow first. And then when I pull in a powder, it has a little bit of something to cling to, you know? And I'm going to be using a lot of this shade and some of this one too. They're both kind of nice, cool browns. I feel like I haven't done my brows with this kind of method in a long time, like using the wax. It takes me back to my Too Faced Brow Envy palette that I used to use a whole lot. Lately I've been reaching for more pencil type products. My area got a new Panda Express recently, you guys. Yep. Sweet fire chicken. Oh my gosh, it's so good. One of the weird things about this pregnancy is that there is a Thai restaurant, a local place, that I just have loved, could have like lived on the stuff before pregnancy. Pineapple fried rice, you know, is so good. But for whatever reason, I just can't stomach this stuff during pregnancy. I mean, I just have not wanted it at all. It's just funny how your preferences kind of change like that, and then I'm sure it'll change back afterward. Now, I do feel like I want to put on some kind of eye primer, but, you know, what would I use for that? Since it's normally not coming from a palette when I use it. So I'm going to use this little creamy, like, highlighter shade in here and sort of use that as a base all over my eyes. It's not shiny, shimmery, but it is still kind of light. I don't know, this might throw my body into some sort of tailspin not using Milani eyeshadow primer today. So I'm decorating for Christmas this weekend. I'm very excited about it. We're traveling back home to where I'm originally from for Thanksgiving, and we're combining Thanksgiving and Christmas up there because by the time Christmas rolls around, I really won't be traveling at all. It'll be so close to the January 12th due date, so we're not going anywhere. And so let me know, when do you guys normally decorate for Christmas? I would usually do it right after Thanksgiving, but since we're gonna be away and coming back, I feel like on that Sunday, I'm probably not going to be in the mood or have enough energy to get that done. And I know I will need Tyler's help to get a bunch of stuff up from the basement, so I don't want to wait like a whole nother week to do it. You know, I want maximum Christmas time in this house. So I'm very excited about getting all of that stuff up this weekend. And I think Belle is going to see this year. I can just tell she's taking in Christmas with a whole different understanding than she had 1 year ago. You want some cheap entertainment for your kid? Just take them through the aisles of Hobby Lobby, you know? Is that just looking around at all the colors of the ornaments and the Christmas trees, she was just in awe. It was so sweet. She was like, oh, baby Jesus, and like all these different things that she was seeing. It was so sweet. But then she did find a Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer stuffed animal and had to go ahead and get that. At first it was like, oh, can I hold Rudolph? And so I give it to her and it's like, oh, this is so sweet. And then a death grip took hold. And I'm like, okay, I guess. On with the show. This is the eye palette that I wanted to use and show you guys. It's the Tarteist Pro Amazonian Clay palette. And this is what we're working with. Oh, thank you for another shiny palette. Maybe if I hold it like this, you can see. You've got all matte. This whole big chunk is matte. And it does give you a lot of different tones here. A lot of deep shades. Then you've got like kind of some more pop of color, mid-tones, some light colors to work with. And then the four down here, I think they refer to them as duochrome in the claims. There's really only one that kind of takes on a two-toned look, and that's the bottom one. The other three just seem like standard shimmers to me, and I actually wish they stood out a little bit more. It's nice and all, but they're all very warm over here, and if I want to pop my lid with one of these, I feel like it takes my look in the same sort of direction every time, as opposed to maybe having like a silver or something really cool. But as far as the quality of the mattes and stuff, I really do like them, and I like the color selection. If you basically love neutrals and the only sort of colorful twist you like is something that goes maybe a little bit orangey or a little bit reddish or plummy, this might be a nice thing to have. But I've used a lot of these rusty colors, the plums, the burgundies in the next row down. I really like that those are in there. But the row that I haven't used so much of is kind of like just this classic row down here. And since I am going to do kind of a fun lip today, it might be good to work in more of those classic type colors. I'm going to see if this color does anything for me in the crease, actually. Does give me a very light crease, this color called Bold. I think this would be a fun video to redo, just with different palettes, with different themes, you know? All drugstore palettes, all favorite palettes, that kind of thing. I'm going to use a little bit of this shade called Vintage as my highlight. Right up under the brow, over the edge of the look. And then I think I want to pull in this color called Glam over here and just kind of show you how that shimmery shade goes on here. Like, it has this hint of gold in it. And the shade above that is called Ethereal, and it has a lot of gold in it. And I almost feel like, what about a cooler shimmery color to help your look go in a different direction that's not gold? But something about these shimmers, just texture-wise on my lids, I don't feel like they look that pretty. Like in a concentrated swatch, they look one way, but then I see them on the eyes and I think they're just not like super gorgeous. And it's like they've handpicked 4 colors to be your special shimmery shades in this palette, and I'm not in love with them. Next, I think I want to really make a thing of like my outer corner, outer V type area with black today. If you've seen this little guy out of rotation for some time, this is my Sonia Kashuk's small shadow brush, and I lost it for a little while, and now it has been found. It was a situation where it's kind of like down deep within my other brushes, and I thought I'd already looked there, but you know, I found it. Great story, huh? So I'm going into this shade called Punk, and I'm going to really pack this on my outer part of my lid, and I want to just shape this into a pretty dramatic outer V. I kind of like using flat brushes to help me do that sometimes. Using that brush that I used with the shimmery shade to overlap a little bit on the lid. And then around the crease, I think I'll use this E25, and just that'll help me bring some of this darkness inward just a little bit. And then I'm going to use Bold again, the shade I originally used in my crease, to kind of go over it, over the top. Some of the lighter shades I found in this palette, like they look like they're verging on a light to a mid-tone maybe. They have some surprising intensity in here, like this shade called Chic. That's deeper than you might think it would be. This one's probably the same deal. Okay, so I'm obviously going to repeat the same thing on the other side, building up the matte black and then softening it out with the shade called Bold. Then I'm going to use that matte black eyeshadow as my liner. I'm going to take my angled brush and spritz it with just a little Fix Plus like that, and that'll give it some moisture and pick up the shadow. Even though it's an intense shadow, I think it'll pick it up in an even more intense way, I guess. And I'm just going to pull that, dab that right along the lash line. Seriously, so I didn't use Milani eyeshadow primer today, and I didn't use black liquid liner. My whole equilibrium is going to be thrown off. This does make a pretty solid eyeliner, though, I gotta say. And for some reason, I don't feel like going too heavy on the lower lash line. Like, I'm going to kind of get a little bit of this, like, right on the outermost part, and then I think I'll smudge it with a bit of the brown. So to finish the eye look, I am going to put some mascara on. I've got some false lashes here, and I'm kicking myself because they're not, I don't think these are demi-wispies. They're longer and a little bit wispier than that, but I'm going to pop those on and then join you for the lips. So my lashes are on. I really like the way the flared out shadow works with a lash that's in that similar shape. And then lips are going to come from a palette too. This is an Urban Decay Vice Lip Palette. They have 2 versions, and this is the one called Junkie. And I gotta say, this is one of the most thoughtfully and well put together lip palettes I've ever seen. Mirror up here, a window that will open up this way, so there's no chance of getting any messiness on your mirror. I swear, a person with a real like problem with making messes came up with this thing. A retractable lip brush is in here also, so that just works like that. It's a fantastic lip brush. So there is really no chance for this palette palette to get all gunked up and nasty. Between the retractable lip brush, the window here, it's just really thoughtfully designed, I think. The other day I was playing with this color called Studded, and today I think I want to do more of like a purpley lip. So I'm going to use a combination of Vanity Kills, that's this kind of light lilac, and mix it with Speedball, which is right next door. There are definitely some more like kind of fun and unexpected shades in this lip palette, and the other version is the same nice design, you know, it just has a few more like safe colors. There's a lot of neutral in that, some reds. Now I'm going into the more purpley color. Whew, that's intense. This is the fun thing about lip palettes, you know, some of them are designed in such a way where I'm like, okay, they didn't give you a brush, or they didn't give you a mirror, or they make it completely not travel friendly, and while this has some size to it, at least I feel like all the necessary elements are there. Okay, hair is done. Purple lips, because why the heck not? Do whatever lip color you want, obviously, but yeah, this is kind of fun to do something different. Hope you enjoyed this video using nothing but palettes. I think it will be fun to do maybe another one of these after the holidays and integrate like all holiday palettes or something like that. Not necessarily a difficult challenge, but something where I think in certain ways you have to get a little bit more creative, like maybe with the brows or the eyeliner, just depending on what kinds of palettes you own. But one new thing that I definitely wanted to address in this video were the Tarte palettes. Honestly, neither one of these totally hit it down the middle for me. There are bits and pieces of them that I really like. For example, I love the contouring products in this Tarteist Pro Glow, and I thought, you know, certain highlights look nice. You can mix and match and do whatever. But I thought to make this palette really worth its while, like I would have rather seen more variety in those 4 highlights, or if this is the way it's going to be, you know, just give me one glowy highlight, the cream contour, the powder contour, and just call it a day. And then the eyeshadow palette, I feel like I really prefer the matte side of this. I don't think the shimmers really knock my socks off that much, so it's nice that it is majority matte, if you're going to look at it that way. And I think, you know, the colorful pops are super wearable for someone who's just kind of dipping their toe into color, you know, the rusty colors, the plums, the burgundies. I think it's a really nice balance of dark, medium, and light, but I kind of wish they would have done something more or something different with those shimmers along the right hand side. I don't think they add as much variety to the looks as I would have hoped. I think to the Lorac Pro palettes, and there, you know, you're getting a nice spectrum of your mattes, but you're also getting shimmers in just really good shades to have shimmers in, you know, and the variety is so totally there. The shades are absolutely gorgeous, so if you were considering like this type of palette or the Lorac Pro palette, like Lorac Pro 1 particularly, I would go with the Lorac. But thank you guys so much for taking time to watch. I hope you enjoyed, and I will see you next time. Bye.